Today I am sharing 7 of my favorite plants that do the hard work for you. These beauties reseed themselves, reroot from buried stems, or multiply underground so you can plant them once and enjoy them for years to come. I am a huge supporter of gardening on a budget, so any way that we can expand our landscapes without spending a dime on that expansion, I am all about it. So let me show you some of my favorite plants that will allow you to do that. Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B and I am in southeastern North Carolina. The first plant on my list is the very versatile and tough lemon coral sedum. Lemon coral sedum can be an awesome ground cover plant. You can use it as a draper in your pots. It is amazing. It adds some bold texture and color to your different flower arrangements or into your landscape. While this plant does get some flowers on it, that is not typically the reason why it is grown. It is grown because it is an amazing spreader. If you take pieces of this plant out of the ground and you drop a piece onto the ground, it will typically reroot right where it falls. So you find you can spread it around, use it in borders, again, use it as a ground cover inside a big space in your landscape, and it starts doing the heavy lifting for you, adding that chartreuse color. The lemon coral sedum is hardy zones 7 to 11. Another plant that is an amazing spreader because it reroots under the ground is this trailing verbena. Now with the trailing verbena, it might look delicate, but is actually quite a workhorse. If you bury the stem of the trailing verbena, it roots underground and creates another type of ground cover situation for you. And you end up coming out with blooms way further along than you expected. Now, even though this sweetie pie is only hardy in zone 7 to 11 and should be treated as a tender perennial, it returns for me reliably here in zone 8B. And actually, I marveled this past winter and the one before that at how I had some amazing blooms from this trailing verbena in the winter time due to a microclimate with this boulder right here. The rock kept it warm enough that it actually bloomed for the whole winter. The hydrangea is actually so interesting because I have a little trick for you here. If you bury the stem of the hydrangea, you can actually get it to root and increase the number of hydrangeas you have in your yard, and you can put them in other places of your landscape. This huge bush that I have right here was created exactly in that way. Depending on your variety, hydrangeas can be hardy zones 5 to 9. Now what's interesting is, like I said, if you're working on a budget, you can create more of these gorgeous plants and shrubs just by simply taking a branch of the plant you have, taking one that's close to the ground, putting it down to ground level and covering it over with soil. Wait about 5 or 6 weeks, I would say, until some great roots have been established for your new baby, and then you can cut it and separate it from the parent plant and move it around. Of course, we know that hydrangeas get their color based on the acidity of the soil. So even though this baby is blooming pink back here, this is yet another propagation off of the same parent plant as the very first one that I showed you. Number 4 on my list is canna lilies. These tropical vibe flowers spread like wildfire under the ground with their rhizome roots. But it isn't just their rhizome roots. These guys also seed and drop seeds from their seed heads after their flower blooms expire. More and more between the rhizome roots and the seeds dropping, these guys fill in and really take up a lot of space. Canna lilies come in a lot of different colors and also varying styles of foliage, between variegated styles or just plain green or dark red foliage. You have a lot of variety choices with this beautiful plant. It is typically hardy zone 7 to 11. But I know a lot of people who actually dig up the rhizomes of the canna lilies, store them indoors for the winter, and then have new plants to plant for the next year. You find the seeds to the canna lilies tucked right on the stem where the flower had been, and it looks like it's in one of these little tiny round pouches. If you were to open up that pouch after the bloom was expired, that's where you're going to find seeds for some new flowers. The number 3 plant on my list that both reseeds and expands and gets bigger by growing underground is the tiger lily. Lilies themselves, we often talk about how they multiply and get bigger each year so you can divide them up. But right now we're specifically looking at the tiger lily because right here, do you see all these black seeds, little tiny round balls on the stems? When those seeds drop to the ground, you end up with the little seedlings all over. It makes it great for this plant actually because you can just take those little seedlings that drop at its feet and move them around and add them to other areas of your landscape. Over time, this plant gives you so many new babies that you can easily give them away to your friends without even batting an eye at having less than what you started with, because this plant will just not let that happen. It's gorgeous. Upside down blooms come in multiple colors, but the orange with the black speckles, oh my gosh, make it so unique and exotic and just an awesome plant. And it's great too because the tiger lily is actually hardy zones 3 to 9. The blanket flower, or Gaillardia, as you can see directly across the side of my pool there, gets bigger and bushier for me each year because it is definitely another one that spreads by its own seeds. I could not even tell you where my blanket flower plant originated because I end up with so many blanket flower plants all over the place as its seeds blow in the wind and drop and just end up blooming everywhere. It's both a blessing and a curse that this plant reseeds everywhere because as you see here, I have it growing in the cracks of a walkway. But what happens is, once the bloom itself expires, it ends up turning to something like this, where you can see there are little seeds up at the top. And these seeds end up blowing around in the wind wherever they would like, and you end up with blanket flowers, like I said, even in the cracks of sidewalks, or perhaps filling up your flower beds in ways that you didn't expect. The blanket flower, depending on the variety, is generally hardy zones 3 to 10. It is a tough plant, is not fussy about its soil at all, is heat and drought tolerant, and blooms for a very long period of time. And number 1 on my list is a kind of coneflower, but it isn't that one. And it isn't this one either. In fact, it's hidden just behind my echinacea without blooms on it right now, and that is the black-eyed Susans. Black-eyed Susans are such great, amazing spreaders that they are another type of plant that you can give away to all of your friends. I divide these up regularly as they are even better spreaders than my echinacea. Got a few buds beginning to form. They just start a little bit later for me than my echinacea does. But the black-eyed Susans, or Rudbeckia, are hardy zones 4 to 9, and when they are in bloom, they offer an amazing pop of cheer and sunshine with their yellow, gorgeous flowers. These babies that you can see right beyond the gray rock, they fill out full sun gardens beautifully. They can be used as cut flowers, and you can fill up a vase inside your home time and time again throughout the entire summer. And once they're done blooming, if you leave them out in your garden, the centers of them, the black-eyed part or the very dark brown centers of the flowers, make wonderful seeds for the birds. And also the birds begin pecking at your plant, dropping more seeds to the ground, and then you can end up with even more black-eyed Susans. While that was my main list for you with the top 7 plants that are amazing spreaders, largely through self-seeding, I wanted to add in a little bonus, another self-seeder. This one is a bonus simply because, even in my area, it is really just an annual. So I buy the Dragon's Breath Celosia, which may not look like much right here, but can you see all of these little pops of magenta sticking up through the gravel? They were not planted here, of course. I had purchased the Dragon's Breath Celosia, which gives you amazing, stunning pops of fuchsia and magenta colors throughout the summer. It is a heat and drought tolerant plant that is amazing in your gardens. But the thing is, even though it's only technically hardy zones 9 to 11, so it's like a really tropical in nature, I am lucky enough to get this baby to drop seeds that germinate the next year. It is wild. So sometimes I think about that when I'm going to the store and I'm buying annuals that I know I'm just trying to pop in for some temporary color. If they drop seeds for me, oh, I'm in such an awesome spot, because then I get to enjoy that plant year after year without rebuying the annuals. So that is the Dragon's Breath Celosia. It is going to get very large, even though right now you just see it as tiny seedlings in the ground. But again, at least they're magenta, so I'm not picking them out with the other weeds that I have. I hope this list was fun and inspiring for you, because there's nothing better than growing our gardens with free plants. So these amazing self-seeders are wonderful, and I didn't include things that really annoy me, like the primrose, which is a self-seeder that just gets all over the place and I don't love it. These guys are fabulous. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Definitely follow me on social media, and until next time, you guys, happy planting.